Don't be so greedy, my husband said sharply as he went through a pile of papers. Wait. Don't read those without asking first, I said, my voice shaking a little. But he didn't listen. Isn't this amazing? We can live a rich and comfortable life now, my mother-in-law said, her face lighting up with excitement. Bennett, my husband, smiled widely. Now I can quit my job. That old fool actually did something good for once. They were so happy, caught up in dreams of money and luxury. I stood there, confused and trying to figure out what was going on. While they celebrated, I quietly started thinking of a plan that would change everything. My name is Scarlett Jensen. I'm 38 years old, a housewife who also works with my husband. My parents were doctors and ran a well-known clinic in our hometown. I'm their only child, so I was loved and cared for a lot. After studying pharmacy in college, I got a job at a big pharmaceutical company. My parents were a little sad I didn't become a doctor, but they respected my choice. 10 years ago, my mother died in a sudden accident, leaving my dad and me heartbroken. During that hard time, Bennett, who was my boyfriend then, supported me. We had met through a friend, and 2 years after my mom passed away, Bennett proposed. He was a regular guy working in the food industry, and even though I earned much more than him, I believed we could handle life's challenges together. My dad was so happy when I told him we were engaged. I've heard about how Bennett has been there for you, Scarlett. Thank you for taking care of her, he said to Bennett. Standing straight, Bennett replied, I promised to make her happy. Next to him, I felt so lucky and joyful. The next week, we visited Bennett's family to tell them about our engagement. His mom, wearing heavy makeup and divorced from his dad, looked me over rudely. Marriage, huh? So you're the one Bennett picked? She's kind of plain, don't you think? And she's older, right? Wouldn't a younger, prettier girl be better for you? Before I could respond, Bennett said, Mom, you've heard of M Pharmaceuticals, right? Scarlett works there. Her dad is a doctor and owns a clinic. I thought he would praise my personality, but instead, he talked about my career and family's money. His mom's mood immediately changed. Oh, Bennett, you should have said that earlier. That's great. I approve of the marriage now. She turned to me and said, Nice to meet you, Scarlett. Thank you, I replied, though I felt uneasy. After getting her approval, Bennett was thrilled. But deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't quite right. When we were about to register our marriage, my dad gave me a special wedding gift, a luxury apartment in New York City. Dad gave us this apartment as a wedding gift. Let's make it our home and live happily together, I told Bennett. He smiled, and we started our life as a married couple. But after the wedding, I noticed something troubling. Bennett didn't know how to do basic chores. He couldn't cook, didn't know how to use the washing machine, and didn't even clean up after himself. He left trash everywhere and didn't seem to care about learning how to help. At first, I did all the chores, thinking it was fine since we were newlyweds. But balancing work and housework quickly became exhausting. By our second year of marriage, I couldn't take it anymore and sat down with Bennett to talk. I'm tired of doing everything at home. We need to share the chores, I said honestly. But Bennett just shrugged and said, I'm tired from work too. You're better at this stuff, so it's easier if you do it. I felt dismissed and frustrated. He didn't help much, and I ended up doing most of the work anyway. Then there was his mother. For Mother's Day, I sent her a nice scarf and some flowers. I picked a good scarf from a department store, but she called me, sounding unhappy. What kind of scarf is this? It's not from a fancy brand. How could you send me something like this? Her reaction left me speechless. I tried explaining the scarf's quality to my mother-in-law, but she wouldn't listen. I want something from a famous luxury brand, she insisted. Shocked, I told Bennett about her reaction when he got home. Instead of understanding, he said, What's the big deal? Just get her what she wants. He didn't take my side. From then on, we started giving her cash as she demanded. By our 5th year of marriage, she began visiting us often, always asking for money. Bennett never complained and happily gave her whatever she wanted. Even though I had a job, Bennett's income was small, and we barely made ends meet. To manage, I had to dip into our savings. I was frustrated. But I told myself that his mother was important to him and had supported me in the past. She was family, so I endured. Now, in our 8th year of marriage, I still do all the household chores and give money to my mother-in-law. One day, my father called me unexpectedly. During our meeting, he shared shocking news: he had terminal cancer, and no treatment could help. I couldn't hold back my tears. My father gently stroked my head, like he did when I was a child, and said, "Scarlett, this is how life is. Let's face it with courage." "Why, Dad? Why you too?" I asked, heartbroken. From that day on, my life became even more hectic. I juggled work, housework, and caring for my father. Work allowed me some flexibility, but managing everything was hard. When I told Bennett about my father's condition, he showed no emotion. "It's tough, but do your best," he said. He only visited my father in the hospital once. I focused all my energy on my father, leaving little for Bennett. If I had any extra time, I wanted to spend it with Dad. One day, as we sat in the hospital, my father asked me, "Scarlett, how is your marriage with Bennett?" Caught off guard, I thought about Bennett's behavior and his mother's demands. I couldn't give a clear answer. Seeing my hesitation, my father said, "Scarlett, you don't have to put up with this. Think about your happiness. Don't worry, I've made sure you'll be okay after I'm gone." I started crying, and my father held my hand firmly. 3 months later, he passed away peacefully. I was overcome with grief and busied myself with the funeral arrangements. Bennett didn't help at all and showed no concern for my sorrow. Despite this, I was too focused on the funeral to dwell on his attitude. The funeral was attended by many friends and colleagues, a heartfelt farewell for my father. Even Bennett and his mother came. The day after the funeral, a lawyer contacted me about my father's inheritance. I met with the lawyer and learned something incredible. My father had left me over $2 million, thanks to his real estate investments and income as a doctor. I was shocked and overwhelmed by the responsibility of managing so much money, but I began the inheritance process. When I got home, I spread the documents on my desk to review them. Exhausted, I lay down on the sofa and fell asleep. When I woke up, I heard cheerful voices. It was Bennett and his mother. "Huh? Bennett and mother? When did you come?" I asked, confused. "Bennett?" He came over with a big smile and said, "Yes, Scarlett, well done." "Wait, what are you so excited about?" I asked, confused. I noticed he was holding the inheritance papers I had received from the lawyer. "Don't just read those without asking," I said, shocked and upset. My mother-in-law, not caring, happily said, "Wow, $2 million inheritance, isn't that amazing? Now we can live comfortably for the rest of our lives." I didn't understand why she was saying that. Then Bennett turned serious and said, "By the way, I decided the $2 million will be split between me and my mom." This was right after my father's funeral. Bennett looked at the inheritance papers without asking and said, "Scarlett, don't be so greedy," and added, "Oh, now I can finally quit my job. I should thank the old man." "Old man? Are you talking about my dad?" I blurted out without thinking. But Bennett ignored me and said, "Anyway, let's get the money into our joint account as soon as possible." Ignoring my confusion, Bennett and my mother-in-law started talking excitedly about buying a new car and shopping. At that moment, I couldn't hold back my anger. I had been doing all the housework, giving them money, and now they were insulting my father. Trying to stay calm, I said with a forced smile, "Sure, spend the money however you want." Hearing this, my mother-in-law was happy. She said, "That's the spirit, Scarlett. Make sure you work hard. I don't want our savings to go down." I just nodded, pretending to listen to her selfish comments. After that, Bennett and his mother lived like they had lost their minds, spending money recklessly. Bennett quit his job quickly, and my mother-in-law stayed at our house all the time. They'd leave in the morning and return with luxury items. "The 3-star restaurant we went to today wasn't as good as I expected," Bennett would complain. "Yes, it wasn't great for us, the sophisticated ones," his mother would say. Meanwhile, they left all the housework to me, like I was a maid. Bennett thought the $2 million inheritance would come soon, so he started withdrawing money from our joint account. My savings of $200,000 quickly disappeared. When I protested, Bennett just laughed. "What's the problem? The $2 million is coming, right? So this spending doesn't matter." I warned him, "I'll stop this soon," but Bennett didn't listen. A month later, Bennett and his mother suddenly went on a trip to Hawaii. I wasn't invited and was left at home alone. After seeing them off, I decided it was time to act. A week later, while I was relaxing at home, I heard a loud knock on the door. I checked the intercom and saw Bennett and his mother, both in aloha shirts. "What do you want?" I asked coldly. Bennett shouted angrily, "What's going on? Why isn't the door opening?" I calmly answered, "I changed the locks, so of course, it won't open." Bennett asked, "Let's talk about this," so I suggested, "Go ahead, I'll join you in a bit." Realizing it was pointless, Bennett and his mother went to a nearby cafe. I followed them there. When I arrived, Bennett and his mother were furious. "What's this about? Did you change the locks? Give us the new keys," Bennett demanded. I calmly said, "There's no need to give you the new keys, you both need to leave the house." I showed them a divorce form I had already filled out. "Divorce? You're serious?" Bennett asked, shocked. His mother exclaimed, "Scarlett, why are you doing this?" I replied calmly, "By the way, with how you've been spending money, are you sure you're okay financially?" Bennett angrily retorted, "What money? It's fine, the inheritance is coming, there's still $60,000 in our account, I'll show you." He checked his phone and his face changed. "What, the money's gone? It was there just the other day," Bennett said, confused. His mother checked her phone too, both looking shocked. I explained, "Of course it's gone, I'm divorcing you, so I moved the $60,000 to my account as part of the property division." What do you mean?" Bennett's anger grew, but then he smirked. "Fine, I'll divorce you, then give me the inheritance money. After all, property gets split in a divorce, right?" I replied, "You're misunderstanding, my inheritance isn't part of the property division, it's separate." They both froze, realizing they wouldn't get any of my inheritance. His mother shouted, "That can't be true." Bennett checked again and found it was true. "What, seriously?" Bennett started begging, "Scarlett, please don't divorce me, I have no savings and no job, how will I survive?" I stayed firm, knowing it was time to move on. I said, "Take responsibility for your actions, I'll go to court if I need to." Bennett and his mother, intimidated by my confidence, backed down. I left the cafe, and the divorce proceeded smoothly. The $60,000 was officially part of the property division. I managed to get Bennett and his mother out of my house. Bennett, who had wasted all the money, was now broke and buried in debt from their lavish spending. They now live in a small apartment, working hard to pay off their debts, a stark contrast to their previous luxury. Meanwhile, I sold the condo I shared with Bennett and moved into my father's old apartment. I continued to work and live comfortably with my inheritance. With my father's memory in my heart, I started a new chapter in my life, determined to protect my happiness and live peacefully.